a land of pain and torture. No straw, but they want their mortar. Tell Trump, fuck borders. P.S. prepare for slaughter. Never take their sons and daughters. Never give them Mars in return. Niggas never wanna learn. Till they laying in the urn. Babylon, Babylon, Babylon. You got to burn. Even if I gotta go with it. So fuck it, is you with it? Niggas never feel froggy, they just wanna rip it. If I see a bad bitch, then I gotta rip it. Your lip looking like the Red Sea when I split it. Tell me why that flow so vicious. Every time he switches, beat a nigga ass like mama did with switches. You niggas looking real gay. Where are the bitches? I mean, where are the sisters? Better stay away from witches. That's a brouhaha. Love me as she brew ya. White people he brew nah. If you didn't know, then you do nah. You belong to me. Yeah. Alright. This nigga's bonkers. From the same city as the Knickerbockers. Name ring bells from here to Yonkers. Or Nicaragua. You niggas too thirsty, you need some agua. I ain't talking Fina. When they kill my dog, I ain't hear shit from Peter. These niggas talk Kent, but they really mean FEMA. Kamikaze, I got more stripes than Adidas. If you ain't a bad bitch, then get the fuck up my penis. 1-2 step with a meat tree drip. Keep my circle tighter than my meat tree is. If I don't fuck with you, you a piece of shit. When I dip, you dip, we dip, we dip. That's the type of shit that I sing to my bitch. No 6ix9ine, we don't sing no snitch. Gotta love that bass. Social distance, I love my space. Tell Karen, get the fuck out my face. We ain't never switching up on our race. You belong to me. It's you, baby. One more time. Gotta love that bass. Social distance, I love my space. Tell Karen, get the fuck out my face. We ain't never switching up on our race, cause you belong to me. One more time for the ladies in the back, eh? True story.
The following is based on relevance.
Yo. She didn't care for the Yeezys and the Jordans. Tired of the lies pastors told over organs. Her father just passed, so her heart had a dent. She would struggle with her mother to come up with the rent. Pastor only wanted $, something make sense. Till she heard a little story that was something like this. What's your nationality? Come and get a flyer. Do you know we got a dark-skinned Messiah? The devil is deceitful and the white man is a liar. Now she wanna study just to get her knowledge higher. A few months passed and she ain't one with her mother. Since she started learning, they would argue with each other. My mother doesn't understand, I'm not in the code. She needs to respect my decisions as an adult. This is a nice place where nobody will hurt you. Everything's so pretty and we're all wearing purple. It's been a few months, she found a man of the Lord. One who's steady in the word, always sharper than his sword. Stimulates her mind so she never gets bored. Talks to her like a princess and never like a whore. Got her thinking that there's more than only getting the draws. He's such a gentleman, always opening doors. Took her on a date, paid for everything in the stores. From dinner to Michael Kors, he's like, have it, it's yours. She can't believe it, it's all but a dream. Everything is beautiful, all peaches and cream. She says to herself, I'm happy I joined this group. It makes me feel good, I finally found the truth. These other groups always talking about polygyny, but I found a real man who says he's only into me. What a nice place where nobody will hurt you. Everything's so pretty and we're all wearing purple. On their way home, she seen something she ain't like when she went through his phone. Is this why you said that it's hard to take care of me? You wasn't gonna say you got a whole family? I don't understand how you think that's fair to me. I've been for sharing you, but you ain't for sharing me. Why won't you answer me? But he's thinking carefully. He tried to calm her down, don't get hype. Couldn't diffuse the situation, and they started the fight. He made a wrong turn, then a left and a right. Now they was in a wooded area with not much light. How did all this go wrong? It was such a good night. Said she's gonna tell the bishop out of anger and spite. He said it's not a good idea to cause me this much strife. He should have told the truth, and every lie got a price. But if it comes down to my wife, it's gonna be your life. Good night.
All right. All right, Shalom Israel. We are the ISUPK, started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana. We are not affiliated with any other group on the face of the planet. All right, we're located here at 5261 Delmar Boulevard, Suite A, St. Louis, Missouri, 63108. All right. We have classes here every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And the call-in number for the classes are 712-832-8330 or 425-436-6260. The PIN number for both of them is 825-1636. All right, this and every Sunday, Sharpen the Sword Radio, Captain DeGaulle Gabar, right from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. You know, the most controversial radio show to ever hit the city of St. Louis. You know, come on here if you have any questions. If you think you found something in the scripture that you think you got a better idea, better understanding of the scriptures than we do, go ahead and give us a call. And the captain will go ahead and take up any call. Right, he'll answer any question. And if you have one of those ill-conceived notions in your head, he'll go ahead and get rid of them for you too. Right. This coming Friday, right here, 5261 Delmar Boulevard, right outside. Commander General Yohana is sending another load of food to the city of St. Louis. Right. We're having a food drive, food distribution right outside the school from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Right. Now, if you're in the city of St. Louis, make sure you get here early. The line usually starts to form around 11:30, right? And they sit there and they wait because the food that the Commander General sends it's insane. I remember one time he sent whole roasting chickens, chicken leg quarters, and chicken breast strips. That was one day, and then you got your vegetables, you got your non-perishable items to go ahead and keep in your cabinet or keep for storage in case something happens. You know what I mean? Like it's good food, right? It's high quality, healthy food. Like I remember one time we had this what was that that organic beef, 97.3% beef. I ain't never even seen no beef that it was 97.3, right? Like that lean, healthy food, right? Commander General Yohana is not just feeding the people of St. Louis trash, right? He's sending good food, and the people of St. Louis really need it, right? Again, that's this Friday, right here, 5261 Delmar Boulevard, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Sure. All right. So announcements. All right, question in the class? All right. Hopping right into this lesson, right? Now, we know Wednesday night's the law class night, right? What we talking about tonight is what Christ did with the law, right? Because there's a big misunderstanding throughout the earth, and it's been perpetuated by the Christian church that Christ came and got rid of the law, right? Christ came and now it's grace, so now things you can just get away with things, right? But that's not what Christ said, and that wasn't Christ's mission, right? Let's start off with Matthew 5th chapter, the 17th verse, right? Because Christ did not come here to, make it so that you can go out and just sin however you want to, right? Christ did not come and die so you can go be a hoe 6 days a week, not even take a bath or a shower, and stroll into a building, and all of a sudden, after you drop your money in the plate, somehow that made up for you sinning all week long. That's not what Christ did, right? Christ did not come to get rid of the law, but Christ will tell you that himself, right? Read.
The book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets.
See, Christ said, don't even think that he came to destroy the law of the prophets, right?
That's right.
The Christian church will tell you that the laws have been done away with. You ain't got to do what it says in the Old Testament no more. But Christ himself said, don't even think that the laws have been done away with, right? Don't think I came to get rid of none of that, right?
Right.
Let's see here. Any more in that verse?
Come.
Read it.
I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
All right, now we're actually going to get more into what he fulfilled a little bit into this, but the whole purpose of this scripture is to show that, Christ came and the laws are still in effect, right? Give me Acts 13 and start at verse 38. All right. Because like I said, the laws are still in effect, right? Christ came to give us not just a better understanding, right? But he came to amplify the law, right? He came to, take it to 11, right? Go ahead and read what you got.
The book of Acts, chapter 13, verse 38. Be it known unto you, therefore, men and brethren, that through this man is preached unto you the forgiveness of sins.
Right. So we know that through Christ, we can be forgiven of sins, right? Like that, our forgiveness now comes through Christ, right? That's where we get our forgiveness, right? It's not through the sacrifices anymore. It's through Christ, because what we used to do was we had to sacrifice to get forgiveness, right? Keep reading.
Come. And by him, all that believe are justified from all things.
Right. So that means that if you come into this school, right, you become a new person, right? You what you've done has been justified, right? That sacrifice used to be what we thought would justify us, right? Is given that sacrifice. But Christ actually does justify us if you believe, right? Because belief takes action, right? So that means you're going to be doing something because you believe, right? Keep reading.
From which ye could not be justified by the law of Moses.
See, because under the law of Moses, right, if you were an adulterer, right, the sacrifice that had to be given was your life, right? If you were a murderer, the sacrifice that had to be given was your life. See, blood has to be spilled. Blood has to be shed to atone for those sins, right? But with Christ, we can atone for those sins, and we can still live, we can learn, and we can grow if we believe in Christ and follow his example, right? You actually have to do something, right? And he actually, what he did was he made the law harder. Let's go to Hebrews, the 10th chapter, and the 26th verse, right? Because see, what Christ does is Christ gives you a clean slate, right? When you get into this school and you start following the law, statutes, and commandments, your slate is wiped clean, right?
That's right.
All right, but that doesn't mean that you just get away with anything. That doesn't mean that everything is just a free for all, right? Go ahead and read what you got.
Hebrews chapter 10, verse 26. For if we sin willfully,
So if you continue to sin, right? Keep reading.
after that we have received the knowledge of the truth,
Right. Keep going.
there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins.
See, because what we used to do was we used to sin, right? And then we bring that sacrifice and we keep committing that same sin, right? Because all you had to do, all you had to do was bring a lamb, bring some doves, bring some cattle. We'll do that rather than obey, right? Like we'd rather just pay. It's like they say, pay the cost to be the boss, right? We'd rather just pay for the sin instead of actually fixing our lives and not sinning, right?
That's right.
So what Christ did was he closed that loophole, right? You can't do that no more, right? Let's see. All right, get Exodus 20 and verse 13, right? So we go compare some of these laws. See, because in this school, right, we get rid of all those misconceptions. We get rid of all that false doctrine. We teach what the Bible actually says, right? We teach what Christ actually said. We teach what Christ actually followed, right? So let's look at one of these laws, right? And let's see what happened, what the change was with Christ.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 13.
Uh-huh.
Thou shalt not kill.
Is there anything else in that verse?
Lie.
So that's plain and simple, right? Thou shalt not kill. That's simple, right? Go to Matthew 5 and 20, start at 21, right? So we see that the law, as it was written, thou shalt not kill, real simple. In the Hebrew, it's even more simple. It's no kill, right? Or it's like no murder, right? Go ahead and read Matthew 5 and start at 21. Go ahead.
Matthew chapter 5, verse 21.
Uh-huh.
Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not kill.
So that's what he's talking about. He's referring to that law. You heard that it said thou shalt not kill, right?
That's right.
So you heard this simple law of Moses, right? Keep reading.
And whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment.
Right? So if you killed, the judgment for that was that your life would be taken, right? So you've heard in the old time that this is the law, and you'll be punished for murder, for killing, right? Read.
Verse 21.
22.
Come. Verse 22.
Uh-huh.
But I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause,
Right?
shall be in danger of the judgment.
See, he's comparing directly murder to being angry with your brother for no cause, right? That's not making the laws easier. That's making them more strict. Because now it's not just in your action. You got to get your mind right, right? You can't let those, you can't have a hatred for your brother in your heart and just let it sit there and let it fester and don't do something about that, right? Because here's the thing, if you don't deal with that, that thought is going to turn into action, right? If you don't figure out how you supposed to squash that, how you supposed to get over that hatred of your brother, right, that's going to turn into an action. And that action, in a lot of cases, does lead to murder, right? It does lead to killing, right? This is preventative action, not fixing it after it happens. If you remove the hate, you wouldn't feel a need to kill your brother, right? Keep reading.
And whosoever shall say to his brother, Wakar, shall be in danger of the council.
Uh-huh.
But whosoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire.
See, Christ just compared all of these things, the way you treat your brother, to murder, right? This is not a loosening of the law, right? This makes it more strict, right? This means not just your actions, but your thoughts must be changed, right? This is why Christ said you had to be born again. You must be a new person. You can't just act different. You got to think different, right? You got to walk different, right? Go to 1 John 3:15, right? Now, we see what Christ said. Now, let's see what his disciples said after he passed, right? Because maybe, we looking at it a little different, and maybe, I'm misinterpreting it, right? Or maybe I'm going a little bit far, right? So let's see what his disciples said after he passed, right? You got that verse?
Come.
Read.
1 John chapter 3, verse 15. Whosoever hateth his brother is a murderer.
Is a what?
A murderer.
A what?
A murderer.
Keep going.
And ye know that no murderer hath eternal life.
So, for just hating your brother, like what Christ said, you become a murderer. Now, there is a difference between murdering and killing, right? Because you could kill in self-defense. That's not murder, right? You could kill defending someone else, right? That's not murder. It's murder when you attack, when you go out with the malicious intent to harm, right? And that's what Christ is saying. It's not just the action, it's the intent behind that action, right? If you hate your brother, you have the seeds for murder, right? If someone breaks into your house and you kill them in the middle of the night, that's not murder. You killed them, yes, but that's not murder, right? So there is a difference. And Christ made it very clear that hatred for your brother is the same thing as murdering your brother, because that's where it leads to, right? All right, let's go to another law and see what Christ did with that law, right? Go to Exodus 20 and verse 14.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 14. Thou shalt not commit adultery.
All right, so thou shalt not commit adultery, right? Anything else in that verse?
Lie.
Plain, simple, right? Thou shalt not commit adultery. Get me Matthew 5 and start at 27. All right, so that just means if that woman is married, you can't touch her, right? Leave her alone. You can't sleep with her. That's it. Period. That's what that law says. That's it. That's all. Right. Go ahead and get that. Read that verse in Matthew.
Matthew chapter 5, verse 27. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery.
Right. So he's referring right back to that law. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Don't sleep with a married woman. Don't sleep with a woman that got a man. Leave your homeboy's girl alone. Right. Keep reading.
But I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery.
Now, obviously, this is talking about a married woman, right? Because if you just looking at any old random woman and she is single, there ain't nothing wrong with that. Right. But if you are lusting after a married woman in your mind, read that part again.
Come. But I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery.
See, you already committed it. Why? Because it's your intent, right? And this isn't like saying, okay, you see a sister, she's beautiful, and you're like, damn, she fine. Oh, she got a man. When you decide to let that thought keep going past that point, that's when you sin. You know, if you see her, she beautiful. Okay, that's great. You find out she got a man. Hey, you can look the other way, right? If she's single, go ahead, get at her, right? But That's not what this is talking about. This is specifically talking about adultery. And what Christ said, once you committed that in your mind or your heart, which is your mind, right? You've already committed the sin. All right. Next, I want you to go to Deuteronomy 11:1.
Come.
And like we have to understand that Christ, I like to try to explain to people that the Bible itself is like school, right? The Old Testament, the laws and the prophets, that is elementary through high school. The laws, that's why they're at the beginning, that's your elementary. That's your beginning, that's your foundation, right? Your prophets, that's where you start to see it in action, right? That would be more so like middle school, high school, right? When you get to what's called the New Testament, right? That is more of collegiate work, right? You have to have that firm foundation. You have to already know the basis before you get into that, because you won't know what you won't know what you're talking about, right? You have, like what Paul said, I speak to them that know the law, right? He spoke to people who had already, like, this was second nature to them, right? Paul was trained in the law from birth, right? So when Christ comes, he's not giving elementary lessons. He's not restarting anything over again. He's taking what was already there and expanding on it, right? You got that verse?
Come. Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 1. Therefore, thou shalt love the Lord thy God.
Right. Go ahead.
And keep his charge.
So, loving the Most High, as we see right here in the Old Testament, is saying, in the so-called Old Testament, is saying that to love him, you must keep his charge. Keep going.
And his statutes. And his judgments. And his commandments always.
So loving him is keeping his laws, statutes, and commandments always, right? Go to John 15 and start at verse 12, right? So let's see what Christ said about loving the Most High. All right, let's see if he made it simpler than keeping his laws, statutes, and commandments, right? Let's see if he took that away in some way, right? Go ahead.
John chapter 15, verse 12. This is my commandment.
Go ahead.
That ye love one another as I have loved you.
Right. So this love, right, first off, to love the Most High, right, we have to show that love to each other, right? Because love is an action word, right? And here's the thing, you can't treat my children horribly and say that you love me, right? So to show love to the Most High, we have to show love to his children. We have to show love to the children of Israel, right? Now, Slock, read that from the top again.
John chapter 15, verse 12. This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Right.
So Christ is telling us that we have to love each other as he has loved us, right? Keep reading.
Verse 13. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends.
So before, it was just keep the commandments, right? And follow the law, right? Now it's not just keep the commandments, not just follow the laws, but to have more love for the brethren than you have for your own life.
That's right.
Right? That's more strict. That is a higher standard, right? Christ didn't come in to lower the bar. He didn't come in to make things a cakewalk. He came in to show us how to do it right. right?
That's right.
It and the biggest problem is, if we stop fighting this, right? If we just go along with it, it becomes easier, right? This is not difficult. Once you start following the law, what's making it difficult is you want that old man to still live, right? You still want him around, and the more that new man is coming in, the more that old man is dying. You know what I mean? The more it struggles. So once you start following these laws, they start to become easier, right? All right, let's look at Numbers chapter 30 and start at verse 1. All right. Let's get more on this, because again, these Christians will have you believing that Christ came to do away with the law, right? But Christ talks over and over. That's all Christ taught. Christ taught the law. So if you follow what Christ said, if you follow what Christ taught, then you have to follow the law. Right? There's no way around it. Go ahead.
And what you're saying is absolutely heavy, because even Christ said in John 14:15, if you love me, keep my commandments.
Right.
So how is the law done away with if he came not to destroy it, make it stricter? You know what I mean? Like, he cracked down on it. Like, you can't even look at a married woman to even think past, oh, that's my sister, I ain't gonna touch it.
Right.
You think past it.
Right. And that is, that's our biggest problem, right? We've been lied to so much by the Christian church, we don't know which way is up.
Right.
Right. So we think that this whole, plenty of fish in the sea, you can leave for whatever reason, you got to be happy all the damn time. We think that because of the Christian church, right? Not we don't understand the Most High's laws, because the people who say that they're teaching us the laws of the Most High, or they're teaching us what the Most High wants us to do, are lying.
Right.
Just pure, flat out lying, right? They'll take one thing, one scripture, and make it seem to say what they wanted to say by taking it out of context. And then they build whole doctrines around it. And they got our people in the building dancing and flipping and flopping around and speaking mumbo jumbo, thinking that they're actually doing something. All right. And we need to get these laws, statutes, and commandments, because these laws, statutes, and commandments will change the way our nation even looks. Right?
That's right.
What I got you on? Numbers?
Oh, God.
Go ahead, read that.
Numbers chapter 30, verse 1. And Moses spake unto the heads of the tribes concerning the children of Israel, saying, this is the thing which the Lord hath commanded.
Right. So, again, this is back, when Moses was giving out the law, statutes, and commandments, like saying he would go to the heads of the tribes, and then that is who would basically distribute the law down, right? It was rank and order, right? The Most High gave it to Moses. Moses gave it to the I guess they would be captains under him, and then those go down to throughout the tribes, right? Those are the people who he has representing the tribes, right? Keep reading.
Verse 2. If a man vow a vow unto the Lord, or swear an oath to bind his soul with a bond,
right,
he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceeded out of his mouth.
Right. So this is saying if a man makes a vow, right, he has to keep that vow.
That's right.
Right. And like, this sounds, pretty strict, right? It sounds like, this is pretty, a hardcore law, right? You can't break that. Whatever vow you make, you got to keep it, right? All right, let's see what Christ said about this law, right? Go to Matthew 12 and 36. Let's start there. All right? Because again, this law, whenever you make a vow, right, you have to keep it. No matter what, that vow must be kept. Your word is your bond when you make a vow, right? Now, let's see what Christ said.
Matthew chapter 12, verse 36.
Uh-huh.
But I say unto you that
Actually, hold on one second.
Huh?
Double check. Yeah, keep going.
come, that every idle word,
That what?
every idle word,
That what?
every idle word
Keep reading.
that men shall speak,
Uh-huh.
they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment.
So before it was every vow you make, you have to keep it. Christ just said every word you say. Now, if you didn't make a vow to the Most High, you could get away with not keeping that word because you did not make the vow, right? But when Christ came along, he said, nah, not just your vows. Every single word that you say, right? You have to give an account for it in the day of judgment. Every word that you say. Right? That is, that means that has gone from, 10 to 30. You know what I mean? Like, for every single thing, you have to keep that word, right? In fact, actually, hop back a little bit. Go to Matthew 5 and 33.
Matthew chapter 5, verse 33. Again, ye have heard that it hath been said by them of old time, thou shalt not forswear thyself, but shalt perform unto the Lord thine oaths.
So this is referring back to Numbers 30 and 1, right?
Oh, God.
Right. So let me get this real quick for you. Right. So when it says to forswear, it means to swear falsely, right? So basically it's saying, if you're going to make a vow, then you have to keep it, right? You cannot make a vow knowing that you are lying, right? So that's what it said in the Old Testament. That's what it said in times past. That's what they said in Slakia of the old time, right? Keep reading.
Come. Verse 34. But I say unto you, swear not at all.
Don't even make a vow. You ain't got to make a vow. Keep reading.
Neither by heaven,
Uh-huh.
for it is God's throne.
Keep going.
Verse 35. Nor by the earth,
Uh-huh.
for it is his footstool.
Keep going.
Neither by Jerusalem,
Right.
for it is the city of the great king.
Keep going.
Verse 36. Neither shalt thou swear by thy head, because thou canst not make one hair white or black.
So he's saying don't swear by anything. Don't swear by heaven. Don't swear by earth. Don't swear on your kids. Don't swear on the head of your hair. Don't swear on anything, right? Keep reading.
Verse 37.
Uh-huh.
But let your communication be yea,
Uh-huh.
nay, nay.
Right?
For whosoever is more than these cometh of evil.
So let your communication. You don't have to make a vow if everything you say is a vow. If your word is your bond at all times, you don't have to make a promise. Just when you say it, it means it's going to be done. Every word. See, what he's saying is you look at a vow as something that is sacred, right? Something that you have committed to doing, right? That you've committed to upholding, right? What Christ is saying is, don't just reserve that for a vow. Make that every word that you say. Make that every action that you make. If you say something, stand behind it, right? No matter what it is, whenever you say it, right? So again, this is Christ making these laws more hard. He makes them more difficult. He makes them more stringent. And this is why the Christian church doesn't know who Christ is.
That's
Right? They think Christ was soft. Christ was strict. He was an austere man. He was serious, right? Christ wasn't about playing no games. This law means everything to Israel and to Christ, right? This is where our salvation comes from, is following the laws as Christ did, right? And Christ, his whole life was to follow the law. It was to fulfill law and the prophecies that concerned him, right? And we're going to get where it says that too, right? Let's go to Luke. I'm going to go to 24 and verse 44. Right?
Go. The book of Luke, chapter 24, verse 44.
Right.
And he said unto them, These are the words which I spake unto you while I was yet with you,
right?
That all things must be fulfilled.
Go ahead.
Which were written in the law of Moses.
So written in the laws. Go ahead.
And in the prophets.
And in the prophets. Go ahead.
And in the Psalms.
And in the Psalms. This is what we call now the Old Testament, right? Go ahead.
Concerning me.
Concerning who?
Me.
So Christ had to fulfill all the laws and the prophecies and everything in the Psalms that concerned him. Right? So when you see Christ fulfilling something, Christ fulfilled what was attributed to him, right? Let's get an example of that, right? Let's go to Isaiah, and we're going to go to the 42nd chapter and the 21st verse, right?
Isaiah 42 and 21.
Yep.
Go. The book of Isaiah, chapter 42, verse 21.
Right.
The Lord is well pleased.
So the Most High is well pleased, right? Keep going.
For his righteousness' sake.
This is a prophecy about Christ. Keep going.
He will magnify the law.
He will what?
Magnify the law.
He will what?
Magnify the law.
When you magnify something, you blow it up.
That's right.
You make it more intense, right? You amplify it. You take a microscope and put it to it. You get more in depth with it, right? You're not getting rid of it. You're not destroying it. Right. Christ will magnify the law. Keep reading.
And make it honorable.
Because our people were dishonoring the law. The law was not honorable. Mm-hmm. Why was it not honorable? Because we treated it with dishonor, right? We didn't have any respect for the sacrifice we were giving, so giving a sacrifice meant nothing. The life of a lamb or a bull or doves, it didn't mean anything to us, right? We give that up anyway. We give that up any day of the week if it meant I can go do whatever I felt like doing, right? Christ's sacrifice made that law more honorable because, see, it's not a ram or a goat that gave up its life for your sin. It's your brother that did that for you. It's a man who had done no wrong and had only tried to build you up and come to give you a better understanding. That's who sacrificed for you. That's who died for you. Right? So that's what makes the law so much more honorable. Right?
Sure.
All right, let's go to Hebrews 10 and 5, right? Because, see, our people can't get that. Our people have been stuck worshiping false gods, right? We worship any and everything, right? We worship sun, moon, stars. We worship Buddha. We worship white Jesus. We worship Allah. We worship everything but what the Most High has told us to worship, and that's Him and Him alone, right? Our people have been led astray, and it's definitely our faults, but we've been guided that way, right? Let's see. Go ahead. Read what you got.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 5. Wherefore, when he cometh into the world, he say, sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not.
So, sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not, right? So, like, we didn't give real sacrifices, right? Because a sacrifice means that it meant something, right? A sacrifice. If you give somebody something out of your surplus, out of what you just got extra, that's not really a sacrifice. You just gave a little extra you had. Now, if you got to miss a bill to take care of that, that's a sacrifice.
So, like,
Go ahead.
if I could, like, that's almost like how the feast, first fruits, you know, how we would give the Most High our first fruit. Like, we finna make all this money. We sacrifice for the Most High.
Right.
Come.
And that's what it is. See, the thing is, it's not supposed to be pleasant. Christians be in church just happy to get that money, singing and dancing down the aisle. Sacrificing to the Most High is not supposed to be a pleasant experience. You're supposed to be remorseful for what you did, not partying. Now, this is not a celebration when you're atoning for your sin, right? Like, imagine, like, and we got to be dumb to think that is the way that we supposed to do this. Imagine you have done something against your earthly father's rules, and you come into his house happy and singing about disrespecting what he told you to do. You wouldn't do that. Look, even if you ain't sorry, you gonna act like you sorry. You know what I'm saying? You go act shamefaced because you know you've messed up. You know you've done wrong, and you know that you should receive a punishment for it. Right? We've been taught and we've been trained, especially by the Christian church, that the Most High ain't gonna punish us for nothing. That the Most High is a sucker. He's a pushover. Right? We can do whatever we want to do, however we want to do it, and the blood of Jesus is gonna cover us. Christ said none of that. Christ got more strict with it. Right? He's not dying 85 times for you to keep sleeping with whores. He's not. You know what I mean? He's not dying 1,000 times because you just can't leave bacon alone. Right? And blessing your bacon or your shrimp, crab, and lobster. Like, you think he died so you can put garbage in your body. Like that is sick. Like that's a sickness that Christians have. Like, because when Christians talk about, when we talk about keeping the law, and Christians want to go to the laws done away with, they not talking about really anything except for that food. They talking about they hog maws. They talking about they chitlins. They talking about they pork chops. They think Christ died so you can go to a pig roast. Like, that's what they see. That's why it's talking about sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not. Because still now, we still take Christ's sacrifice as nothing, right? So we don't see it as a sacrifice. It's just, all right? Keep reading.
Go. But a body hast thou prepared me.
Keep going.
Verse 6. And burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin thou hast had no pleasure.
See, that's why the Most High had no pleasure in our sacrifices, because we didn't care. We just did it. We didn't actually sacrifice because we were remorseful for the sins that we committed. We didn't sacrifice because we wanted to, because we were actually sorrowful about it and we're going to change. No, we just threw it up there, right? Same way we do today in the Christian church. It's the same thing, right? We look at it as basically the payment for our sin, so we could keep sinning, right? Where we at?
Hebrews 10:6.
All right, next I want you to get me Isaiah 29:13, right? Because, see, when we do things like that, right, when we sin and know that what we're doing is wrong and still choose to do it, right? We don't really love the Most High, right? We're just acting like it, right? That is just a facade, right? And in our hearts, in our spirits, in the mind of the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American man, we know deep down that we are connected. We have a relationship with the Most High as a people, right? As a group, right? Nobody goes into churches and are more convicted about their religious beliefs than we are, because we know that there is, especially with Christianity, especially with the Catholic Church, because we know it's something about that book that draws us, that speaks to us, right? It's because we wrote it. It's because that's our records, right? But again, we've been taught incorrectly, right? Read.
Isaiah chapter 29, verse 13. Wherefore the Lord said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth,
All right.
and with their lip.
So, where you at?
You about to say something?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, God. And with their lips do honor me.
So our people, we talk a good game. We say that we love the Most High. We say that we love Christ, right? We draw near him with our lips. We draw near him with what we're saying, right? Keep reading.
But have removed their heart far from me.
Right. So we removed our heart, which is our mind, right? We removed our mind far from him. We don't actually think about what the Most High has said. We don't actually think about the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments as a people, right? We think about whatever we want to do until, we get into a jam or we have a problem. Then we want to call on the Most High, right? Keep reading.
And their fear toward me.
So the way we even respect the Most High, right? The fear comes from how we respect him, right? Because if you fear your father, you don't do things against him. You don't do things against his will, right? You do what your father tells you to do if you fear him, right? So our fear towards the Most High, read,
is taught by the precept of men.
See, we're taught by the precepts or the laws of our oppressor. We're taught by the laws of, those who would keep us in chains, who would keep us as their slaves, right? And they're teaching us in a way to keep us in our position. Why would they want us to learn what the Most High is actually telling us to do, so that way the Most High deliver us from their hands? They don't want to give up their power. They're not trying to give up all they riches and their wealth, right? They're out of place and they like trying to be in that place, right? They don't want things to be right, because if things are right, then they lose their power. Because here's the thing. Now, they have a problem doing it, especially in large groups. But you get an Edomite by themselves. Edomite tell you that the Edomites is the most evil man the planet has ever seen. They know that. They know it. But we still want to follow them. We still say that, oh, no, some good ones. Ask them. They'll tell you. They're not. First thing, if you think of a school shooter, that's who you're thinking of. Domestic terrorists. I say domestic terrorists. I guarantee you, everybody just saw the same big Edomite man with a full beard and a flannel hat in the middle of the woods somewhere holding an AR-15. Everybody just saw that same guy. Same guy. But we, as a people, refuse to understand that we need to be away from them. We need to separate from them and to get back to our culture. We want to follow the Most High the way they say that the Most High should be followed. We know everything about them is wicked, right? We know that the world is given into the hand of the wicked, and it's hard to get our people to admit it too, especially on the street, that the white man or the Edomite controls the entire planet Earth. Like, they don't want to admit that for nothing. Like, I don't I don't get it. That is the most blatant and obvious fact that there is. They control every world government. This is what talked about that last night. The U.S. military is in over 90% of the earth.
Right.
That's
Right.
one of the Edomite countries. Like that's just one of the Edomite countries. Like, so we are learning from them how to go against our God. Right? We're learning from them how to keep them in power.
Right.
Right, which is only to our detriment, right? But thanks be to the Most High that the ISUPK was established in 1969
That's right.
to bring this truth back into the earth. Get me Jeremiah 3:15. Right, because this is the only saving grace. This is the place where you learn the law, statutes, and commandments the way they're supposed to be taught, not by the oppressor, not by the people who want you to dismiss your own laws and culture. I was actually going over this one of my ribs the other day. I said, listen, right? I'm not saying that they follow our laws completely, right? But the so-called Jewish man has taken our book, right, and said that that's their culture. And then they take all the economic laws out of it, right? The way they do business, the way they treat each other in business, the way they treat other nations in business. And they undoubtedly, and this is something else you can't get, it's hard to get people to admit, they control the planet. They control every bank. They control the heads of nations, because we know that the United States government, yes, Joe Biden is the quote unquote president, but Joe Biden don't run nothing. We know that there's senators and congressmen, but we know that the senators and congressmen don't actually write laws. The corporations do. The corporations write the laws, and then they give them to the senators, and the senators just sign their name on it and pass it around. And then all of the other paid members just sign their name on what they're supposed to sign their name on. And that's how the country and the world is run, by corporations. It's not run by these people we see out in front. Those are figureheads, right? That's why I go over that how Obama's policy and Trump's policy were the exact same policy.
Right.
Trump just didn't say it right, so it didn't go through. But they were being paid by the same people to do the same thing. Trump just couldn't get it done right. Right? That's it. When you look at policy for at least the past 60 to 70 years, there's a continual progression. Some Republicans couldn't get certain things passed, so the Democrat would come right behind them and get it passed. What the Democrat couldn't get passed, they would bring a Republican behind them to get passed. That's why they alternate like that. That's why you will very rarely, if ever, see a Democratic president go for 8 years and then another Democratic president come in right behind them. They have to switch up, because the things they couldn't get passed with this one, they have to use the other side to get passed. They're two wings. It's the same bird, right? It's the same goals, right? And we have fallen into the trap of believing that somehow one of them is going to be what's best for us as a people. We listen to our Christian pastors in our communities, and they tell us to trust in this system. They tell us to go vote, right? But these pastors don't follow the laws of the Most High God, right? They tell you that the laws of the Most High God are gone, right? Read that verse for me.
Oh, God. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 3, verse 15.
Uh-huh.
And I will give unto you pastors according to mine heart.
So the Most High will send out pastors up according to his heart, right? According to what he thinks, right? Who will teach you what he said, right? Keep reading.
Which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding.
And these pastors will feed you with knowledge and understanding. See, what you see when you see the ISUPK are these very pastors that they're talking about. These very ministers, right? These very people who are over the flock, right? Get me Malachi 2:7. As it said that that they shall feed you with knowledge and understanding, right? And we know that, our people die for the lack of knowledge. So let's see what this knowledge and understanding is that these pastors will feed you with, that you will die as a people without, right? Read.
Malachi chapter 2, verse 7.
Uh-huh.
For the priest's lips should keep knowledge.
So these priests, these pastors should keep knowledge, right? Their lips should keep knowledge. The words that come out of their mouth should be knowledgeable, full of this knowledge, right? Read.
And they should seek the law.
The what?
The law.
The what?
The law.
Go ahead.
At his mouth.
So the law is that knowledge.
That's right.
See, this is how you know it's not talking about the Christian pastor, because the Christian pastor tells you that you don't have to follow the law.
Right.
He tells you can't follow the law. So the knowledge that you should be getting is not from a Christian pastor, because they have no knowledge. They tell you that there is no knowledge to have. The law is that knowledge that our people need, right? The laws are what will restore us as a nation, right? Go back to Matthew, the 5th chapter and the 17th verse, right?
Go.
Go ahead.
Book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 17.
Uh-huh.
Think not that I am come to destroy the law.
Right.
Or the prophets.
Right. So we already established that Christ did not come to destroy this law or the prophets. Read.
I am not come to destroy.
Right.
But to fulfill.
Now let's see what the Bible says Christ came to fulfill, right? Go to Acts 3:18. Because see, Christians like to say, well, see, he died on the cross. That means that the whole law is fulfilled. That's not what that means. Right? Let's see what the disciples said, with those who he taught, who walked with him. Let's see what they said that he came to fulfill, right? Read.
Acts chapter 3 and verse 18.
Uh-huh.
But those things which God before had shewed by the mouth of all his prophets.
So this is what the Most High showed by the mouth of all his prophets. Moses was a prophet.
That's right.
And Moses wrote the law.
That's right.
The prophets were written by, guess what? Prophets. David was a prophet, and he wrote the Psalms. Right? So the law, the prophets, and the Psalms. So this is what they wrote about Christ, right? Read.
That Christ should suffer.
That he should what?
Suffer.
That he should what?
Suffer.
So Christ's suffering, right? Read.
He hath so fulfilled.
So in the laws, in the prophets, and in the Psalms, Christ was prophesied to suffer, right? He was prophesied to go through something for us, and that is what he fulfilled, right? Get me Isaiah 53:5. Let's look at an example, right? Let's look at one of these prophecies about Christ, right? Go ahead.
Isaiah chapter 53 and verse 5.
Uh-huh.
But he was wounded for our transgressions.
Right.
He was bruised for our iniquities.
Uh-huh.
The chastisement of our peace was upon him.
Right.
And with his stripes we are healed.
See, this is a prophecy about Christ, right? And this is telling us directly, he is going to be wounded. He's going to be bruised. He's going to be beaten, right? And this is for us. He's going to suffer, and it's for us, right? This doesn't say that he's going to get rid of any law. Why would the Most High send somebody that would come down and get rid of everything that he said? That doesn't make sense. Christ was sent for this reason, right? Keep reading.
Okay. Verse 6. All we like sheep have gone astray.
Go ahead.
We have turned every one to his own way.
Yeah, some of us go Baptist, Catholic, Pentecostal, AME, Episcopalian, Presbyterian, Methodist,
Right.
Mormon, Jehovah's Witness. You got one? You know one? Name one.
Non-dominant.
Damn right, non-denominational. Yeah, I don't know how I forgot about that one. we all go our own way, right? But that's not what Christ came for. All that division is not what Christ came for. Read.
Come. And the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all.
See, and this is what those Old Testament only Israelites don't understand. Right here in the Old Testament, it says that he would bear the sin of us all. Right. Oh, no man can die for anybody else's sin. Isaiah just said that the Lord. So like it. Isaiah said Yahweh. This is not Elohim. This is not any other word. This is Yahweh hath laid on him the iniquity of us. That's what Isaiah said, right? So it does confirm in the Old Testament that a man can be put to death for the sin of everyone else. And Christ is that man who died for our sins while we were going astray, right? And it wasn't so we could keep sinning. It was to teach us and guide us in the way against our sins, right? Let's look at another prophecy of Christ. Let's go to Luke, the first chapter, and start at, I think I want 68. Let me double check that real quick. Okay, yeah, let's start at 67. Start at 67.
Come.
Just to establish this is prophecy, right? Even though I don't know why some people think it doesn't happen, but yes, there's prophecy in what's called the New Testament, right? Read.
Luke chapter 1, verse 67. And his father, Zechariah.
So it's talking about Johanna, or who later will become known as John the Baptist, right? So it's talking about his father, right? Read.
Was filled with the Holy Ghost. And prophesied,
saying. So he was filled with the Spirit of the Most High, and he said and he spoke a prophecy, right? Let's read this prophecy that was given to him by the Most High. Read.
Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people. So
that the Most High has visited and redeemed his people, not every people, right? Just the people that he gave this law to, just the people that he chose, right? And we're only bound to the Most High by the law, right? Why? Because we're bound to the Most High by those covenants. And what came with the covenants? What are the stipulations? A covenant is a contract, right? So what are the terms of that contract? Well, the terms of that contract is the law. Right? That is how we are the people of the Most High, because we were given his law, right? So he's visited and redeemed his people, the children of Israel. Keep reading.
Verse 69. And hath raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David.
Keep going.
As he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began. So he's saying that clearly Christ was spoken about in what is called the Old Testament. Why? Because the prophets have been talking about Christ since the world began, right? And understanding and knowing that they were talking about him since the world began means that there are scriptures that directly deal with him. That doesn't mean everything is directly dealing with him. That means that there are specific scriptures, specific prophecies that are directly dealing with him, right? That each prophet has given since the beginning of the world, right? And these are the things that he was going to fulfill. Keep going. Come. Verse 71. That we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us.
So again, this isn't that message that Christian pastors like to push, right? Because first and foremost, for Christ to save somebody, first off, he has to be rescuing one people, and it says from their enemies. So that means that the other people who are the enemies are not going to get salvation. They can't receive salvation. How am I going to save you from them if I bring them along with you? See, when the so-called Jewish man, right, when the end of World War II happened, right, they didn't just put them back in Germany right alongside the people who were oppressing them. They separated them, and they were removed from the German citizens. Now, were the other different religious Germans moved with them? No.
Right.
They were separated, right? Because when you redeem or when you save a people from another people, you don't bring the victim and the aggressor with you.
Right.
You just take the victim and put them in a safe space. You don't bring the aggressor along with them. Right? So these people that are the enemies, they can't be saved by the simple definition of what it means to save someone or something, right? Keep reading.
Come God. Verse 72. To perform the mercy promised to our fathers.
To who?
Our fathers.
To who?
Our fathers.
So this is a mercy promised to anybody else, right? And this is a part that, Christians have a problem understanding, right? A covenant, right, is a contract. For anyone to be in the covenant, they had to have signed the contract.
Right.
I can't win a settlement from a class action lawsuit if I had nothing to do with the class action lawsuit. I can't get the money for asbestos because I ain't got no asbestos in my lungs, and then my dad didn't die of that. I can't get a part of that contract because it's not for me. This contract that the Most High has with the nation of Israel is for the nation of Israel. It's not for anyone else. Right? Keep going. Go ahead. Go ahead and say what you need to say.
I was about
Go ahead.
to say, we love talking about people in the world, Israel in the world, love talking about how this is their home, this and that. I ask them all the time, 1776, when the Declaration of Independence was signed, what were blacks, Hispanics, and North American natives considered as? Slaves. We didn't sign that contract. We didn't print and date on that contract. So what makes you think this country is for us? It's not. That's the whole point of them making that separate covenant.
Right.
It's their covenant.
Right.
This is our covenant.
Exactly. You weren't included in all men are created equal.
Right.
Right. That wasn't you. You like you said, just like you said. You didn't sign that contract. They ain't had nothing to do with you.
Right.
Right. Keep reading.
Verse 73. The oath which he sware to our father Abraham. Verse 74, that he will grant unto us that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear.
So now we see that this prophecy hasn't come to pass yet. So every prophecy hasn't been fulfilled. So when Christ said that not one jot or one tittle shall pass from the law till all be fulfilled, this prophecy is included. Mm-hmm. Israel is still in captivity. Christ is saying that the laws still stand. The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans still live in the ghettos, the barrios, and the reservations, then the law must still be in place, right? Because we haven't been saved out of this situation. We haven't been saved from our enemy yet.
Right.
Right? Let's get a where we at? Let's get another example, right? Go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 15. All right.
Come.
All right, let's see some more. Let's see another prophecy that directly has to deal with Christ, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got it?
Come.
Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 15. The Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me.
Right.
Unto him.
So this prophet is going to be just like Moses, right? Go ahead.
Unto him he shall hearken.
He said, unto him you shall listen, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a prophecy about Christ.
That's right.
Right? But our people, don't believe in Christ. And Christ tells you exactly why. John 5:46, right? Because Moses is telling you that this prophet is going to be a prophet just like him, right? That you supposed to listen to Christ, right? But our people to this day don't listen to Christ. Our people don't listen to anything that Christ said because Christ has taught us to follow the law, statutes, and commandments, and we want to find a loophole around it. But again, Christ is very, Christ understood why we did that, right? Read.
So like you said, John 4 and
John 5:46.
Come. The book of John, chapter 5, verse 46. For had ye believed Moses.
Say it again.
For had ye believed Moses.
Had you believed Moses, go ahead.
Ye would have believed me.
Right.
For he wrote of me.
We just read what Moses wrote of him.
Right.
Right. But see, our people don't believe Moses.
Right. Right.
The laws are done away with. We don't believe Moses. Moses wrote that law was forever. We don't believe Moses. Right? We don't believe that the law, statutes, and commandments are still here. That we still have to follow the law, statutes, and commandments, right? We don't believe Moses. So if you don't believe Moses, you can't believe Christ.
Right.
Period. That's what he just said. That's what Christ said, right?
This is why the Most High said, don't lean into your own understanding.
Right.
Our people so confused. We going against the Bible. We try to say the Old Testament not real, but then you turn around and say, oh, well, New Testament not real. Well, you just don't believe in nothing. You are a fool.
Right.
Our people are fools, man.
Go ahead and keep reading.
Go. Verse 47. But if ye believe not his writings.
So if you don't believe in the law, statutes, and commandments, if you don't believe that you have to follow the law that Moses wrote, specifically what they call the law of Moses, because that's what Christ is talking about. If you believe Moses, then you would believe me, right? So if you didn't believe his writings, the law of Moses, as what the Christians like to say, well, the law of Moses is done away with. So Christ is saying if you don't believe in the law of Moses, you don't follow the law of Moses, read.
How shall ye believe my words?
It's impossible for you to believe anything Christ says.
That's right.
That's plain and simple, right? He said that if you don't believe what Moses has told you, if you don't believe in the law, statutes, and commandments, you don't believe you have to follow what the Most High said, then you don't believe anything I said. You don't believe a word I've ever mentioned. And these are Christ's words, right? These ain't something I'm making up. These ain't something that I got from somewhere else. Christ said this directly himself. If you don't believe in the law, if you don't believe in following the law, statutes, and commandments, if you don't believe what Moses wrote, then there's no way you can believe him, right? Get me Malachi 3 and 6. Right? Because and this is one of the reasons why the Christian church keeps our people out of what they call the Old Testament. And if you're new here, you know, I keep saying what they call or the so-called, because the Old Testament, the Apocrypha, and the New Testament are modern concepts, right? This is one continual work, right? So the Bible, or and what the Bible, the word Bible just comes from the word, it comes from biblioteca. Oh well, no, that's Spanish, but biblios, which means library, right? It comes from library, right? So this is just a collection of works, right? This is a collection of writings from Hebrews. This is their records, right? With the establishment of their country, which is their constitution, which is the first 5 books, you know, their most prominent men, and what other nations would call philosophers, and the prophets and the Psalms, right? The most prominent kings. This is no different than anybody else's books, right? Anybody else's nation's records, right? But we've been taught that somehow that, yeah, these records are continual, and you know, we see that the laws are in the beginning, but then towards the end, you know, Christ comes along and he changes things, right? The Most High, you know, sends Christ to, first off, Christ said that, you know, he doesn't speak his own words. He speaks the words of him that sent him, right? He doesn't do his own will. He does his Father's will, right? So if he does what the Most High says, and he only speaks the words of the Most High, right, then Christ couldn't have changed the law.
Right.
And there's a reason for that, right? Read.
Malachi chapter 3 verse 6.
Right?
For I am the Lord.
So he's saying, I am Yahweh, right? I am the Most High, right? Keep going.
I change not.
I change what?
Not.
I what?
Not.
See, the Most High doesn't change. The Most High did not change his law. The Most High would not allow his law to be changed. The Most High is the one true God, and his power is not matched or cannot be usurped by anyone or anything. Christ cannot go and change the law, and the Most High did not okay it. And the Most High don't change. His laws that he established are meant for the nation of Israel to follow from when he gave them to us until Christ returns, and even after that, because we read that, you know, even in the kingdom we go have the Passover, right? Even in the kingdom we go be following these laws, statutes, and commandments. So these laws, statutes, and commandments are here forever, right? No matter what a Christian pastor says, because a Christian pastor only teaches you what they've been taught in their doctrine, right? And these doctrines have all been established by our oppressors, right? You can look at the foundation of every so-called denomination of Christianity, right? And they were all started by an Edomite, all right? And even the one, it's like there is one that was started by the Israelite. It was a doctrine that was started based around what he had been taught by Edomites. So even though he established one based off of Edomite doctrine in the first place. All right. Actually, I see that we are at the time. So with that, Shalom, Israel.